We've talked briefly about the power of focus, about how learning to truly focus is a game changer that can be the key to transforming your life for the better in innumerable ways. But how does a person actually learn to focus? We've said the answer is meditation, but that's an oversimplification. There are a great many forms of meditation, and not all of them have the same goals or offer the same results. So let's get specific and delve into a meditation technique that, if practiced correctly and consistently, bestows the powerful gift of incredible focus. The form of meditation we will describe shortly is borrowed from an ancient spiritual tradition born in India. But for the sake of simplicity, we will dispense with the names and terms associated with the technique, as well as the religious context in which this style of meditation was originally rooted. The goals here are utility and simplicity. We want you to know how to actually do it by the end of this presentation. So without further ado, the first thing we need to explain is that most people must work their way into truly meditating. Just because you might sit cross-legged on the floor with your eyes closed doesn't mean you're actually meditating in the sense of the word that's relevant here. Meditation, as we speak of it, is about fixing the mind on one thing, to the exclusion of all else. Some might say that the term meditation means to still the mind. But while there are types of meditation that are meant to stop the mind from wandering all over the place, not all of those methods lead to an amazing ability to focus. So we will say fix the mind or attach the mind to one thing or one object. That could be a particular idea or thought or even a particular feeling. It could also be a physical object, a certain place, or even another person. No matter what the object of our focus, to meditate on it means to fill the mind with just that one thing, without the intrusion of thoughts, feelings, or awareness of anything else. Very few people find this easy to accomplish when first starting out. Our minds naturally wander until we train them not to. And as is the case with most things we learn, it is best to learn to meditate in steps or stages. In this case, there are only 4 stages we must master, and the first one we will simply call concentration. Concentration is all about training a mind that is accustomed to wandering and teaching it to stay focused on one thing for an extended period of time. Here's how to do it, using a physical object of your choice as a prop. First, choose an object that is rather simple in form. It could be a candle, a flower, a ball, a vase, pretty much anything you'd like. The only rules here are, first, that the object should be something simple and easy to picture in your mind, and second, that the object should be something that gives you some kind of feeling, an object to which you have some positive emotion attached. It could be something that makes you feel nostalgia, excitement, safety and security, happiness, or something of great sentimental value to you. As long as it is simple in form and is attached to a positive feeling, it will work. While practicing concentration, you should wear clothing that's very comfortable for you, or no clothing at all if that's your thing, and you should sit someplace comfortable, quiet, and private where you won't be interrupted. You must have a way to set a timer or an alarm, but take care to make sure that any other functions the timing device might have won't interrupt you. So silence your phone's notifications and the sounds of any other devices. Choose a seat and place the object you've chosen in front of where you'll be sitting. It's usually best to place the object far enough away that it's beyond your reach once you're seated, but close enough that you can see it very clearly. Make sure that wherever you're sitting, and however you're sitting, is comfortable enough that you can remain there for several minutes without needing to squirm or change the position of your body. You need not worry about looking like you're meditating, so don't think that you have to sit on the floor with your legs crossed or sit on your heels with your knees on the floor. You can do those things if they're comfortable for you, but you don't have to. You can just as well sit in a regular chair or on a couch if you prefer. The only thing you should think about now is comfort, so that no undue physical discomfort will distract you, and so that you can remain motionless for more than a few fleeting moments. Try to sit up straight, with your spine erect, but don't worry too much about your posture when you're starting out. As you progress further into your practice of meditation, posture will become more important, if for no other reason than its role in keeping you alert and sparing you possible back pain later. But when you're new to meditation, just prioritize being as physically comfortable and relaxed as you can be. Doing this practice while lying down is not recommended, however, because that might make it too easy to fall asleep. But if you can't find a comfortable place to sit, or if sitting isn't comfortable for you due to physical issues or limitations, then yes, you can even lie down. Just make sure you're very wide awake when you begin this practice. Set the timer for 5 minutes. As you get better at this stage of the practice, you will extend the time. But if you're just trying this for the first time, or if you've never been able to succeed at meditation before, starting with a 5-minute time limit is a good idea. And don't be surprised or dismayed if even that 5 minutes seems difficult at first. It's okay. When learning to meditate, it is extremely important to be patient with yourself. Before you start the timer, take several deep breaths through the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth if you prefer. Breathe in for a count of 5 seconds and then breathe out for 5 seconds. Do your best to completely empty your lungs when you exhale and to completely fill your lungs when you inhale. Try to imagine pulling air deep into your body until it seems to fill not just your chest, but also your belly, right down to the area below your navel. And then, as you push the air out, start by contracting your lowest abdominal muscles so that you're exhaling from below the navel and up. Control your breathing so that each inhalation and exhalation lasts for the entire 5 seconds. On the next breath, try for 6 seconds, in and out. On the third breath, try for 7 seconds, and so on. Once you reach the maximum number of seconds, you can inhale and exhale without struggling. Continue to breathe at that pace for a minute or two. While you're breathing deeply, intentionally, relax your body. Start with your head and your face, relaxing your muscles and releasing any tension you're holding. Then move down to your neck and shoulders, chest, back, arms, and so on, releasing any muscles that you have been unintentionally tensing, all the way down to your feet. Now turn your attention to your timer. Once the timer begins, all you need to do is sit in your comfortable position and gaze at the object you've chosen. Don't try to stare at it too hard, and don't try to stop yourself from blinking occasionally. Just look at the object for as long as you can. If you find your attention drifting away from the object, just gently bring your attention back to it. At this point, you should make use of your feelings about the object. This is why it helps to pick a thing that you associate with positive emotions. It is easier to continually look at an object if it evokes a positive feeling, which in turn generates positive thoughts about the object. Engage your mind with whatever thoughts about the object inspire those good feelings in you. You might think about how good the object feels to touch, or how beautiful it is. Or you might think about how useful it is to you, or what it smells like, sounds like, or tastes like. Or you might just think about its properties, things like its shape or its size, the material it's made from or its texture. The point is, these kinds of thoughts will assist you in gazing at the object continually because they make the object more interesting to the mind. If you attempt to simply stare at the object without any associated thoughts, your eyes are likely to tire very quickly, and keeping your attention directed toward the object will be even more difficult. What often happens when people first begin the concentration phase is that the thoughts they have about the object lead the mind to drift. Maybe they start thinking about how they came to possess the object, where they bought it, or who gave it to them. They may drift into memories related to the object, or find their minds thinking about a different object that somehow relates to the first object. At times their minds may begin to free associate, and thus end up someplace that has no direct connection to the object at all. This is normal, so if this happens, don't let it frustrate you. Instead, when you realize that your mind is no longer on the object you've chosen, simply bring your attention back to the object. This process has often been compared to training a small monkey to sit still. The monkey is curious and has a very short attention span, and it wants to wander and explore everything it can see or reach. It is easily distracted, but if every time it starts to move away from your side, you gently pull its leash and bring it back to its spot, it will eventually learn to stay where you put it, and you won't have to keep correcting it. It's the same when your mind wanders during the concentration phase of learning to meditate. Just gently pull your mind back to the object in front of you every time you notice that your mind has drifted away from it. Go through this process of refocusing your attention as many times as necessary until your 5-minute alarm sounds, at which point you stop the exercise. Practice this at least once per day, every day, until you are able to keep your eyes and your mind on the object you've chosen for 5 minutes straight. Once you can do that, it's time to start working on the next stage in the process, which we will call intaking. Now that you can maintain visual and mental contact with the object for 5 minutes, the next step is to bring the object into your mind without having to look at it. You begin as you did before, by breathing and relaxing your body, and then setting a timer for 5 minutes and gazing at the object, firmly holding your attention on it. But now, after gazing just long enough to feel firmly connected to the object, close your eyes and try to picture it with your mind's eye alone. As you picture it in your mind, do your best to see all of the details of the object and to make the mental image as clear and as accurate as what you see when your eyes are open. Again, make use of your thoughts and feelings about the object to help your attention remain where it belongs. And once again, you are likely to find that the mind easily drifts away from the object and wants to go someplace entirely different. This is just a normal part of the experience, and you already know that the remedy is to simply refocus your attention on your task. It is also likely that, at first, you are only able to generate a vague or fuzzy image of the object when your eyes are closed, and that even that imperfect image vanishes easily or morphs into something else entirely. If this happens, be patient with yourself. Simply open your eyes for a few seconds and reconnect to the object in front of you. Once you've reconnected, close your eyes again and go back to trying to picture the object clearly in your mind alone. Do this as many times as necessary during the 5 minutes you've allotted. Once your alarm sounds, stop the exercise. You will resume the next day. As with the first stage, where your task is to simply gaze at the object for 5 minutes, the more you practice this second stage, the more successful you'll be. Over the course of many sessions, your ability to shut your eyes and remain focused on the object you've chosen will improve. In increments, the image in your mind will grow a little clearer and will last a little longer. With practice, your mind will drift a little less frequently and for a little less time than it once did. Just remember the idea of training the little monkey. All you have to do is repeatedly pull your mind back to the task at hand, and eventually the mind will stay where you want it to stay. Once you've gotten to the point where you can close your eyes and keep a clear image of the object in mind for a duration of 5 minutes, without interruption, you're ready for the next stage, which we will call continuation. By the time you're ready to begin the continuation stage, you have mastered keeping your attention on a single object while looking at it for 5 minutes. And you've mastered the skill of generating a clear image of the object in your mind and keeping your attention on that image for 5 minutes. So now the idea is to lengthen the amount of time you can hold the image of the object in your mind and give it your undivided attention. Begin by setting a timer for 10 minutes. You will keep the object in front of you physically at first, but it is only there to help you begin your practice. You gaze at it for a few brief seconds, and then you close your eyes and give all of your attention to the image of the object that exists in your mind alone. The more you can mentally engage with the object, the better. Lean into the positive feelings you associate with the object, and imagine interacting with it with your other senses. What does the object feel like? What does it smell like or sound like? If appropriate, what does it taste like? You might look at the image in your mind from different angles, noting its shape, form, and features, seeing it in as much detail as your mind can muster. Think about the object in as many ways as you can. The idea here is to stay as mentally and as emotionally connected to the object as you can for 10 uninterrupted minutes. As before, if or when the mind's attention strays, if the mental image dissolves, or if your thoughts wander off to someplace else, just regenerate the image and bring your full attention back to the object. If it becomes absolutely necessary, you might even open your eyes briefly to gaze at the physical object itself, just to renew the connection. Remember to be extremely patient with yourself, and remember that the process is all about guiding the mind back to where you want it to be the moment you notice that it strayed. Needing to do this repeatedly should not be thought of as evidence of failure or an inability to meditate, but instead should be seen as the key method for taming your mind. Every time you pull your attention back to the object, you get just a little bit closer to keeping your attention where you want it to be for as long as you want it to be there. Another often used analogy for this stage of the process is that of oil being poured from one vessel into another. It is said that your attention directed toward the object should be like that steady stream of oil, flowing continuously and steadily without interruption. Once you find that you can keep your mind on the object for 10 uninterrupted minutes, begin to do the exercise without the object physically in front of you. Sit, close your eyes, generate the image of the object in your mind, and then hold it until your alarm sounds. But now, instead of doing it for 10 minutes, increase the time to 15 minutes. After you've mastered holding the object in your mind alone for 15 minutes straight, increase the timer to 20 minutes, then 25 minutes. You will go on like this, day after day, gradually increasing the amount of time you are able to hold the image of the object in your mind while giving it all of your attention. Eventually, you will add the final 5-minute increase to your session, leveling up to 30 uninterrupted minutes. If you've reached the point where you can fix your mind on the mental image of an object for 30 minutes at a time, the continuation stage is essentially completed. But you will keep practicing the 30-minute continuation technique every day, as it forms the basis for the next stage of the process. The next stage is not actually something you do. It is just the result of continuing to do what was already described. If you keep at this 30-minute exercise long enough, day after day, session after session, concentrating on the object without any break in your attention, your mind will eventually yield and you will lose any consciousness of the separation between you and the object. Your mind and the object of your attention will merge, in a sense. Incredibly, at this stage, even the form of the object will disappear, as you will be merged with it to such an extent that nothing else will seem to exist. The form of a thing loses all meaning when there is nothing to contrast or compare it with. Though the form of the object will melt away, your connection to the object itself will persist. It has to. After all, once you get this far in your practice, you have become the object, and it has become you, mentally speaking. But after having merged with the object, you will be conscious of it in a very different way. Perhaps the best way to explain this is to say that you will experience the essence of the object. You will experience it as a purely energetic phenomenon that you are existing as. Your mind will engage with the object from the inside out as both the observer and the observed, but without any consciousness of the distinction. This is a level beyond ordinary thought. You will lose awareness of space, time, and even your own body. All that will exist is you as the object, and the object as you. Once this happens, you are truly meditating. As your journey with true meditation continues, you can choose other objects on which to meditate. Remember, these objects need not be physical. They can be thoughts, ideas, paradigms, relationships, individual people, or anything else you can single out for greater attention. And having achieved the ability to meditate in this way, you will no longer need a physical representation of the object in order to begin meditating on it. In fact, many of the most useful meditation objects may be abstract in nature, having no physical counterpart whatsoever. This form of meditation changes your brain in significant ways, and it is beyond the scope of this presentation to describe all of the benefits a person can derive from adopting this practice. But the ability to truly focus your attention at will without becoming distracted is certainly among this brand of meditation's most practical results. While learning to meditate, the process itself dramatically improves focus as you progress. With each session, you become increasingly adept at controlling your own mind. Your thinking becomes more orderly and efficient. You learn faster and more easily than you did before beginning the practice. Your ability to manage your emotions and to curb impulsivity significantly increases. And all of this from simply learning to meditate. Once you've mastered the stages and have gotten into a regular meditation routine, the benefits increase exponentially. The high degree of focus attainable through a well-developed meditation practice expands the practitioner's awareness to levels most people never attain. This means that the practitioner can focus to great effect on both the micro and the macro, able to dedicate near total attention to the smallest detail, but equally adept at sensing and understanding what's happening in the greater environment, both materially and energetically. It's about as close as you can come to having a real-life superpower, and it's available to all, free of charge. You just have to be willing to sit, to breathe, and to gaze for a few minutes each day.